You know what absolutely disgusts me about professional wrestling today? When you watch someone who once had unlimited potential, someone who was literally handpicked by Vince McMahon himself to be the guy, completely waste that opportunity and become nothing more than a sidekick, a backup dancer, a lackey for someone else's storyline. And that's exactly what Austin Theory just did on Raw. But here's where it gets even more infuriating. He didn't just align himself with anyone. He joined forces with Seth Rollins, and together they cheated their way to victory against the Vision. Not through skill, not through heart, not through proving they're better, they cheated. And WWE is trying to spin this as some heroic return, some feel-good moment that we should all celebrate. Are you kidding me right now? Let me break down exactly what happened on Raw in 2025, because this moment is either going to be remembered as a brilliant strategic move or the moment Austin Theory officially flushed his main event potential down the toilet. And spoiler alert, I'm leaning heavily toward the latter. Seth Rollins made his return to Monday Night Raw after being out of action, and the WWE Universe was genuinely excited to see the Visionary back in the ring. Say what you want about Seth's booking over the years, but the man is undeniably talented, he's a workhorse, and he always delivers when given the opportunity. His return was positioned as this big moment where he was going to stand up to the Vision, this faction that's been terrorizing the entire roster, attacking legends, and claiming they're the future of WWE. The Vision has been on an absolute tear, and their message has been consistent. The old guard needs to step aside, the establishment needs to crumble, and they're the ones who will rebuild WWE in their image. They've attacked everyone from Rey Mysterio to other veterans, and they've been doing it with this smug arrogance that makes you want to see them get their comeuppance. So when Seth Rollins returned and positioned himself as their opposition, it felt right. Felt like justice was coming. But here's where things took a turn that has the entire wrestling community divided. Seth wasn't alone. Standing beside him, looking like he just won the lottery, was Austin Theory. The same Austin Theory who was supposed to be Mr. Money in the Bank, the chosen one, the future of WWE. The same guy who had Vince McMahon's personal endorsement and was being groomed for superstardom. And now he's playing second fiddle to Seth Rollins. Quick question for you. Do you think Austin Theory joining Seth Rollins is career suicide? Or is this exactly what he needs to get back on track? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments because I have a feeling this is going to divide the fanbase. The match itself was Seth Rollins and Austin Theory versus two members of the Vision in what was billed as a fight for Raw soul, a battle between the establishment and the revolution. And look, the action was good, nobody's denying that. Seth Rollins can still go at an elite level. Austin Theory, when motivated, has all the tools to be a star. The Vision members brought intensity and aggression. But the finish is what has everyone talking, arguing, and questioning what WWE is doing with these characters. Late in the match, the Vision had control. They were executing their game plan perfectly, isolating Seth Rollins, cutting off the ring, preventing the tag to Austin Theory. It looked like they were going to score a huge victory and cement their dominance over another returning star. Seth was in trouble. The crowd was rallying behind him. And this was the moment where a clean babyface comeback would have been perfect. Instead, we got vintage WWE shenanigans. Austin Theory, who was on the apron desperately reaching for a tag, suddenly noticed that the referee was distracted dealing with one Vision member outside the ring. And in that moment, Theory made a choice. He grabbed a steel chair from ringside, slid it into the ring towards Seth, and when Seth finally got the hot tag and Theory came in, he used that chair while the referee's back was turned. Wham! Right across the back of a Vision member. Then he kicked it out of the ring, hit his finisher, and pinned the guy for the 3 count. The crowd popped because the Vision lost. But here's the problem, the heroes just won by cheating. The guys who are supposed to represent honor, tradition, and doing things the right way just took a shortcut to victory. And that sends a terrible message, doesn't it? It validates everything the Vision has been saying about the establishment being corrupt, being hypocritical, being willing to do anything to hold on to power. Here's another question for the comments. Should babyfaces ever cheat to win? Or does that automatically make them just as bad as the heels they're fighting? I want to see where you all stand on this. After the match, Seth and Austin celebrated like they just won the WWE Championship. High fives, hugs, arms raised in victory. The commentary team tried to spin it as a brilliant strategic move, as them doing whatever it takes to combat the Vision's numbers advantage. But let's call it what it was cheating. Plain and simple. And the fact that WWE is trying to present this as a positive says a lot about where the company's moral compass is pointing right now. Let's talk about what this means for Austin Theory specifically, because this is where my frustration really reaches a boiling point. Remember when Theory was positioned as the heir apparent? Remember when he was cashing in money in the bank contracts, main eventing shows, and being treated like the next big thing? What happened to that guy? Where did that confidence, that arrogance, that star quality disappear to? Now he's in a tag team with Seth Rollins, playing the role of backup, the sidekick, the Robin to Seth's Batman. And worse, he's winning matches through shortcuts and cheating instead of proving he belongs at the top through pure ability. This isn't character development, this is character regression. This is taking someone with limitless potential and making them ordinary, making them forgettable, making them just another guy on the roster instead of the guy. The worst part is that Austin Theory doesn't need Seth Rollins. He doesn't need to be anyone's partner or anyone's protege. He has the look, the athleticism, the charisma, and the in-ring ability to be a main event player on his own. But WWE keeps putting him in these situations where he's defined by his relationship to someone else rather than his own accomplishments. First it was Vince McMahon's golden boy, then it was various faction affiliations, and now it's Seth's buddy. When does Austin Theory get to just be Austin Theory? Here's a trivia question. Can you name the last time Austin Theory won a major match completely on his own without interference or shenanigans? Drop your answer in the comments if you can remember. Seth Rollins' return itself was handled well. I'll give WWE that. The video packages highlighting his journey, his injuries, his perseverance, that was all great storytelling. Seth coming back to fight the Vision makes sense because he's always positioned himself as someone who cares about the integrity of WWE and the quality of the product. But did he need a partner? Did he need Austin Theory specifically? Or is this WWE's way of trying to get Theory over by association because they've failed to get him over on his own merits? The Vision's reaction after the match was interesting. They didn't throw a tantrum. They didn't attack Seth and Austin with weapons. They just stood at the top of the ramp, pointing at both of them, making it clear that this wasn't over. One of them grabbed a microphone and said something along the lines of, "You just proved our point. The establishment will do anything, including cheating, to keep us down. But you can't stop what's coming." And honestly, they had a point. When the supposed good guys have to cheat to beat you, you're not really losing the moral argument, are you? This entire situation creates a philosophical problem that WWE hasn't adequately addressed. If Seth Rollins and Austin Theory are willing to cheat to defeat the Vision, how are they any different from the corruption and politics that the Vision claims to be fighting against? How are they the heroes of this story? Wrestling works best when there's a clear moral distinction between the heroes and villains, when you know who to cheer for and who to boo. But this blurs those lines in a way that doesn't feel intentional or clever. It just feels messy. Let me hit you with another question. If you were booking this storyline, would you have Seth and Austin win clean, lose honor? The tag team division on Raw is already crowded, and adding Seth Rollins and Austin Theory to the mix creates even more questions. Are they going after the tag titles? Are they just a temporary alliance against the Vision? Will they eventually implode and feud with each other? WWE has a terrible track record with thrown-together tag teams that start as allies and end as enemies. It's one of their most overused storylines. So if that's where this is heading, we've seen it 100 times before, and it's going to be painfully predictable. What frustrates me most is the wasted potential. Imagine if Austin Theory had returned as a solo act, determined to prove himself, and challenged the Vision one-on-one. Imagine if he systematically went through their ranks, defeating them cleanly, establishing himself as a legitimate threat and future world champion. That would have been compelling television. That would have rebuilt his credibility. Instead, he's sharing a spotlight with Seth Rollins and winning through shortcuts. Seth Rollins doesn't need this either, by the way. The man is already established. He's already a multiple-time world champion. He's already proven everything he needs to prove. He doesn't need a tag team run with Austin Theory to validate his legacy. If anything, this feels like WWE's creative team didn't know what to do with either guy individually, so they just put them together and hoped it would work. The in-ring chemistry between Seth and Austin was actually pretty good, I'll admit that. They worked well together, their styles complemented each other, and there were some genuinely impressive double-team moves. But chemistry alone doesn't make a compelling storyline. You need substance. You need character development. You need a reason for fans to invest emotionally in what's happening. Another question for you. Would you rather see Austin Theory as Seth Rollins' tag partner? Or would you rather see him turn on Seth and join the Vision? Social media has been absolutely brutal about this. Wrestling Twitter is tearing this storyline apart, calling it everything from desperate booking to a waste of Austin Theory's talent to typical WWE not knowing what to do with their own stars. And while internet fans aren't always right, when there's this much consensus about something being poorly handled, there's usually some truth to the criticism. The Vision, to their credit, has been the most consistent and well-booked aspect of this entire situation. They have a clear philosophy, clear motivations, and they've been executing their plan effectively. They're not just generic bad guys who are evil for the sake of being evil. They genuinely believe they're fighting against a corrupt system, and moments like Seth and Austin cheating to beat them actually validate their worldview. That's good heel work, making the audience question whether they might actually have a point. Let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, how disappointed are you with how Austin Theory has been booked since losing his initial main event push? Give me a number in the comments. Looking ahead, there are several ways this storyline could develop. Maybe Austin Theory eventually realizes that he doesn't need Seth Rollins and strikes out on his own, possibly even turning heel and joining the Vision in a shocking swerve. Maybe Seth and Austin become unlikely tag team champions and have a surprisingly successful run. Maybe the Vision gets their revenge in a brutal beatdown that writes Seth back off television and leaves Austin to fend for himself. All of these options are on the table, but based on WWE's recent track record, I'm not confident they'll choose the most interesting path. What WWE needs to understand is that fans are smart. We recognize when someone is being positioned as a star versus when they're being positioned as a supporting character. Austin Theory's entire presentation since joining with Seth Rollins screams. Seth Rollins' return should have been a moment of celebration, a triumphant comeback that reminded everyone why he's one of the best in the world. Instead, it's been overshadowed by questionable booking decisions and the continued mishandling of Austin Theory's character. WWE had an opportunity to do something special here, to build a compelling rivalry between the Vision and a renewed, motivated Seth Rollins while simultaneously giving Austin Theory a platform to rebuild his credibility. Instead, we got a convoluted mess where the supposed heroes win by cheating and nobody comes out looking better than when they started. The frustrating thing is that all the pieces are there for this to be great. Seth Rollins is talented enough to carry any storyline. Austin Theory has enough potential to become a legitimate main eventer. The Vision is a well-defined heel faction with clear motivations. But the execution has been baffling, and the decision to have them win through cheating undermines the entire narrative foundation of heroes versus villains. So here's my final take on Austin Theory joining Seth Rollins and cheating the Vision. It's a waste. It's a waste of Austin Theory's potential, it's a waste of Seth Rollins' return, and it's a waste of the Vision's momentum. WWE has once again taken interesting characters with compelling storylines and fumbled the ball through questionable creative decisions. The cheating finish makes nobody look good and creates moral ambiguity where there should be clarity. Austin Theory deserves better than being Seth's sidekick, and Seth deserves better than needing to cheat to beat mid-card faction members. Make sure you're subscribed to SUPLEX RING SAGA so you don't miss our continued coverage of this train wreck storyline. Hit that like button if you're as frustrated as I am with how Austin Theory has been handled. And most importantly, get in those comments and let me know whether you think this partnership will help or hurt both.